Narcissism can take someone to great places.
Narcissism, the word, is going to lose its meaning in some time. And especially in the context of dating. I've seen it come up so many times where they're like, after a breakup, one of the other sides is definitely going to be like, oh, he was a narcissist. Oh, she was a narcissist.
In order to get to the top, you've got to step on a couple toes. Not all personality styles can do that. People in their lives never get to know the real them.
Sometimes narcissism could be good, and like, hear me out. And a lot of people might think I'm a narcissist after saying this.
They're able to justify it in a way. In their mind, they're saying, look, if it wasn't me, it was going to be someone else.
Roughly 1 in 5 corporate executives have clinically significant psychopathic traits. Do you think that we're using chemistry with chaos?
When you're looking for a long-term partner, what you really want is a friend. The two personality styles that get along best on the surface are
According to the Harvard Business Review, 95% of people think that they're self-aware, yet only 10 to 15% of people are truly self-aware. Today, we have someone who specializes in mood disorders and personality disorders. He's a clinical assistant professor at NYU, and after doing a little bit of digging, I found out that he loves tennis as well. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Lawrence Ian Reed.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, Ian, what we're going to talk about today is personality in the real world, how it shapes power, love, and success. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I view everything in the lens of personality pathology. I should say that, a lot of psychologists, when they think about personality, they think about maybe like the big five. But I think about the personality disorders, and I think about them like personality disorders like narcissistic, antisocial, histrionic, dependent. But I think about everyone as being somewhere on the continuum of all of them, even the ones that are diametrically opposed, like something like avoidant personality disorder and histrionic. Like someone who's high on histrionic would be low on avoidant.
So what is histrionic?
Okay, so I should say that the way that I think about the personality disorders is that each one has a belief system and a strategy, and that belief system is oftentimes an erroneous one. So in histrionic personality disorder, they believe that the world is a dangerous place and that they're ill-equipped to deal with it by themselves. But their strategy is to gain and maintain attention, usually through looks, sexuality, histrionics, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
So these are your sort of your Lady Gagas, live for the applause. These are the girls that you never see leave the dorm unless they look fabulous.
Right.
You never see them with their hair down, so on and so forth. And people with avoidant personality disorder, these are people that they feel like they're in a goldfish bowl all the time. They feel like the spotlight's on them, and they don't like the spotlight.
Right.
So their belief system is that everyone is judging them as harshly as they judge themselves.
Right.
And their strategy is to avoid the
Right.
spotlight.
So just like escape any sort of issue.
Yeah, well, so for them, they're left with this decision. Like, they can go out in public and suscept themselves to the harsh, but in their mind, deserved criticism, or they can stay at home. And they choose to stay at home, not because they want to, because it's the lesser of two evils. So these are the people that are like, I would have killed it at karaoke if I would have next time. Or like, I should have asked that girl out, next time I'll do it.
Right.
But tomorrow never comes. So it's really, really difficult for them because oftentimes they don't live up to their like vocational or potential.
Wow. I always thought those examples were like completely meant the opposite thing. Where like if someone's like, they don't go ask that girl out, they're anxious. They're just too scared to do it.
Yeah. Well, in their mind, they're so critical of themselves, and they think that other people view them as harshly as they view themselves.
Right.
Like these are the people like, you might see them at a party, but they're on the wall, they're on their phone, and then like someone might go up to them and be like, "Hey, bro, how's it going?" But then like that'll shine the spotlight on them, and then they'll want to scurry out.
Yeah, they just pick up their phone, take out the calculator, and pretend like they have something important to do.
Yeah.
Right. Even what you said earlier about the girls who are in the dorm who want to get out, this is the social media era. Like everyone's portraying like the best image of themselves. They think like the spotlight is on them, even if it's not.
Yeah.
So, hey there. Thank you so much for watching. I really love the work that I'm putting in for you guys. And it would mean the world for me if you could just hit that subscribe button. Back to the podcast. How do you think social media has blurred the line between the authentic identity and the performative identity?
Well, Not in a good way. I have some thoughts about it. So one is assuming there's a difference between the person themselves and then the person they present themselves as. Well, it seems to be really problematic for the person themselves because the farther that disconnect is between their real self and the self that they advertise, the less in touch they are with themselves, the less they are to be comfortable being themselves. It also is tough for the people in their lives because the people in their lives never get to know the real them. And then it's tough for them because when the people in their lives say, I love you, or you're the best, then they're like, well, how would you know? Like, you don't even know the real me. You just know this persona or this Instagram version of me. So it doesn't seem like it would be helpful for either the person or the people in their lives. So that's something that I worry about.
I mean, I think of it that way because, like, I do meet a lot of people who have, like, an social media Instagram presence. And I think it gets the best cuts out of it and they put the best part of them on it. Like, even, like, people who are married and stuff, they portray this image of the perfect relationship.
Yes.
But does that exist? Like, everyone's had a fight at least once a week, or maybe not. I don't know. I don't want to put numbers.
I'm glad you brought it up because it's so easy to forget that we're looking at, like, this curated, portfolio of the best moments of people's lives.
Right.
And then we see it all the time and we think that people are happy all the time. And then we look at our lives and we're like, oh my goodness, why am I on the outside of awesome looking in and everyone else is awesome? But it's good to remember what you just said.
Yeah. I mean, I did some bit of digging on, like, statistics.
Yeah.
And it turns out, like, 1 of 11 people have been diagnosed with, like, a personality disorder, 9% of the population in the US or the world. So do you think, like, we're seeing more, like, narcissism in the social media world?
Yeah.
Or is it just, like, better lighting?
Well, so I think there's a lot of things at play. So first, I should say I don't know of any epidemiological studies that have shown an increase in the rate of narcissistic personality disorder.
So I'm just like, I don't know what the word what is it?
Those are studies of incidences and prevalences. So they'll say, like, how many men or women in the U.S. in the past, 6 months or 12 months have been diagnosed as this. It basically tells you prevalences.
Okay.
That being said, Jean Twenge, she wrote a book that I really liked about a year ago called Generations, and she did some research on the Narcissistic Personality Inventory, which doesn't measure narcissistic personality disorder, but it measures traits on a continuum. And she found that, I could be getting this wrong, but between the years 1980 and I think 2015, that narcissistic personality inventory scores among college students was increasing. And it's gone back down since that time. Okay. Not back to its original state, but there was an increase. The other thing is that the terms are being used more loosely. Some of them, like autism spectrum disorder, has been redefined in the DSM. The personality disorders have not in DSM-5, but now people are much more likely to use those words to describe people. I'm guilty of it too.
Right.
And I should say that if I describe someone using a personality style or disorder, I don't necessarily mean it as a bad thing.
Right.
Because certainly, like on the tennis court this morning, I could have used a little bit of narcissism.
Right.
When I was dating, I could have used a little bit of histrionics when I was dating. So with all the personality styles, there's aspects that I wish I had and aspects that I'm glad that I don't have.
I also feel what you said, the loosely throwing around the term.
Yeah.
Narcissism, the word is kind of going to lose its meaning in some time. Because, and especially in the context of dating, I've seen it come up so many times where they're like, after a breakup, one of the other sides is definitely going to be like, oh, he was a narcissist. Oh, she was a narcissist. But I think it's like probably like, I don't even know the number, like between 5 to 10% of the world is diagnosed with narcissism. So the rest of the people, you just got some bad blood. It's not narcissism.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This has happened with so many different disorders. I think the worst offender is trauma Because now if someone says trauma, I don't know if they have like a hangnail or if they've had like some history of like some sort of abuse.
Right.
But it's absolutely the truth with personality pathology as well. And it's a problem because when you use the terms loosely like that, it then dilutes what we mean when we describe an actual person with narcissistic personality disorder. There's a difference between someone like maybe like a famous narcissistic politician who literally would have that disorder, and then your friend who's happy that they got a good grade on an exam or something like that. Like those two people are categorically and dimensionally different.
Right. I feel like with the whole social media thing, just because someone's putting a video of themselves, I mean, isn't the platform meant for that?
Yeah.
Isn't it the case where like you are trying to put your best foot forward? And sure, if you like seeing yourself on camera, does not make you a narcissist.
Yeah.
There are narcissists. Don't get me wrong.
Yes,
like
yes,
there
yes.
are, and I'm sure you've met them and I've met them. But I would say like probably I've met like one narcissist in my whole life.
Yes. The thing with social media, it's almost like brings out the narcissism, in us. I might be a little bit narcissistic, but so when I post something on Instagram, like I'll check and see, like, okay, well, did I get any likes? And then if I don't get any likes, I'm like, oh my goodness, what's wrong? And if I do, I'm like, oh great, I've got some people looking at me. So I'm guilty of it too. So that's why I think a lot of people will sort of get rid of the apps because they don't want to be part of those reindeer games.
Definitely. I mean, anyone pretending to not look at their phone after they post a picture or the story or just to see who viewed it,
Yeah.
you're lying. You're lying through your teeth.
Yes.
So, Ian, what happens when like the brand that you're putting on social media becomes your identity? And by that I mean is, for an example, like you could be the most introverted person on earth, right? You put a video of yourself and make an entire brand of you just talking and just being confident. And I mean, not to confuse confidence and introvert to be the same thing, but opposite things. But if you put that and it becomes your identity, this is a good part, like you becoming outgoing and everything.
Yep. Yeah, I think it can be tough because the more that you identify with that brand or that persona or that Instagram version of you, the less in touch you are with your actual self. And then that might be true for the things that you do, like your behaviors, but maybe also the way that you think. And then I've got to think that it's really difficult in relationships as well because the person that you're with, are they getting the Instagram version of you or are they getting the real you? When they say that they care about you, do you believe them? Do you, when they say that, are you like, well, do you care about the Instagram version of me that's not the real me, or do you care about the real me? It just seems like it can be really, really tough to sort of lose yourself to that. And then it's problematic because I would imagine that Instagram version of you, if you're maybe an influencer, like you're getting paid and you're getting likes and you're getting all this positive reinforcement. Meanwhile, the real you is, I don't know, maybe floundering, not getting that much. So you're getting reinforced for separating yourself from your actual self. It seems like it could be pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, just, I don't know, like once it starts, when you said the part where you're getting paid for this, at a certain point you just be like, am I putting this for myself or is it just because I want the money? And that's when the whole switch happens. Because I feel like a lot of people, when they're like influencers and everything, especially when they get into like the whole dating sphere, one of them is obviously like with more influence, and that's how he got like somehow recommended, and that was a factor for the girl or the guy to reach out and be like, hey, I'm interested in you.
Yeah.
And then later on, when the whole thing starts to die down, if there's like some cancelable moment, the guy or the girl's like, do I have this? Like, I thought this was the only reason I had it.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, that's a really, really good point too, because you could imagine that, let's say that an influencer meets someone, starts dating someone. Well, the person that they date thinks that they're with someone else, and then slowly they're going to get to know the real person. And then as that happens, like, are you going to be thinking, oh, are they going to like the real me? Like, what if they see me without makeup? Like, what's going to happen then? And I just think that the amount of insecurity would be too much for me to take. I'm just Ian in all situations. It's just easier that way.
That's well said. So coming to the workplace, there was a study that was done. Again, like you've said, the studies can be messed up, but there was a study that was done that said roughly 1 in 5 corporate executives have clinically significant psychopathic traits. What do you think of that?
Okay, so first let me talk about what I mean when I say antisocial personality disorder. So most people, when they use the word psychopath or sociopath, they usually mean what people that study personality disorders call antisocial personality disorder. So in antisocial personality disorder, the belief system is that every man for himself. And sorry for the baked-in sexism, but it's more often diagnosed in men. That it's a dog-eat-dog world, and that if I'm not the aggressor, I'll be the victim. So with that belief set, the strategy is the best defense is a good offense.
Right.
So if you think about most people that are at the top, like a lot of CEOs, like in order to get to the top, you've got to step on a couple toes. Not all personality styles can do that. Think about like a used car salesman, right? Mm-hmm. Their job is to extract as much money from you as possible. Only someone of a certain disposition can do that without having their conscience keep them up at night. The people that have antisocial personality disorder, I think you called sociopaths or psychopathy. Psychopaths. Those are the people that can do that because they're able to justify it in a way. In their mind, they're saying, look, if it wasn't me, it was going to be someone else. And they're saying, look, it's perfectly legal. The person knows what they're signing up for. They agreed to the deal. However, someone else that's less on that severity of the continuum is going to be like, oh my goodness, like, I really could have sold that car for a lot less, but I really got as much as I could have out of that guy. I feel really badly. It's not going to be a good used car salesman.
So what kind of personality would that person be?
Antisocial personality disorder. So if I can think of some fictional characters. You ever see Breaking Bad?
Yeah, I love that.
So most of the characters, Walter, Saul, definitely, like in their mind, like Walter said something like, if it was going to be me or Gail, it was going to be Gail.
Right.
Like so justifying
the part where he got shot.
Justifying it in that way. And they're very good at it. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but they're very good at justifying their actions so that they can sleep at night. Again, some people have more of this in them than others. Some people, wouldn't be able to do that. I was working with someone, a long time ago, and he had some scheme where he set up where he was stealing people's credit card information. Mm-hmm. And the way that he described it to me is he said, well, Ian, I just steal $200 from everyone and then I move on to the next person. So I could rob them blind, but I'm not. In his mind, it was almost like he was doing them a favor by not robbing them blind. And listening to him talk, I was kind of like, wow, that's really nice of you. But then I was like, wait a minute,
he stole $200.
Yeah, he's still stealing from all these people. But he was able to justify it or rationalize it in a way where he was able to sleep at night and be okay with that. So back to the workplace. You might find these people in jobs that require you to step on some toes, like a lot of CEOs, like people that do hostile takeovers. Did you ever see Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah.
So there was a scene when he was selling these penny stocks.
Right.
So I thought that was a good example because, again, someone who's not on the antisocial side would be like, well, I'm really stealing this guy's money. But in a job like that antisocial style is really rewarded.
So you would say like the person thriving in that role is the one who's not antisocial?
Well, so the person who's thriving in the Wolf of Wall Street, used car salesman, CEO, those people are antisocial.
Say we had to generalize it, right?
Yeah.
For today, like we have roles from like finance to being a doctor to being a teacher. If you had to generalize, is it possible to say that there's one kind of personality in general that is thriving more than the other one? And the other side is just basically suffering?
Well, what I think is, we're all somewhere on that continuum. And what we need to do is we need to put ourselves in situations that accentuate our positives.
Yeah, play to your strengths, basically.
Yeah. It takes a long time for us to know ourselves, but you will find these personality styles in different occupations. So, for example, someone who's antisocial, used car salesman, CEO, stock trader, someone with dependent personality disorder. Those are like your hospice care workers, your nurses. Someone with obsessive compulsive personality style. Those are your engineers. Those are your analytic people. Those are your mathematicians. Someone with histrionic personality disorder, those are your influencers, your exotic dancers, your strippers. Someone with narcissistic personality disorder, I'm not sure if they've got a specific occupation, maybe something that allows them to win at whatever competition they're good at. Whether that's being a good basketball player, or it could be, I don't know, achieving something in comparison to their contemporaries.
Do you think like narcissism helps you lead?
Okay, so this is it's so interesting.
Like being a good leader.
Okay, so confidence, and I don't know the answer to this question.
Right.
Confidence, I don't know how strongly it's correlated with actual ability, but somehow if someone is confident, then that breeds confidence in other people. So if you see someone who's confident, then that gives you more trust in that person, even though there's probably not a one-to-one correlation between their confidence and their ability. So with narcissism, you want to have a healthy amount of it. So too inflated a view of yourself, that means that you're going to bite off more that you can chew. You're going to go for the top and probably not reach it. Too little self-worth, that means that you're going to sell yourself short. Like you're not going to apply to all the good schools, all the schools that you could get into. So you want to have sort of a healthy sense of yourself where now the goals that you're aiming for are achievable. They're not too low, not too high. That's what we want. That's the sweet spot there.
I think of it in a way where like sometimes narcissism could be good, and like hear me out. And a lot of people might think I'm a narcissist after saying this. But imagine a doctor, right? His narcissistic component is that he wants to be the best doctor in the world, right? If he decides to become the best doctor in the world, how does he become the best doctor in the world? By helping people, right? Even if it's like a self-pursuit of being the best doctor, he's kind of helped people. Like,
narcissism can take someone to great places. For example, being president of the United States, you have to have some, in my opinion, you have to have some narcissism in you to think that you would be good at that job. And some presidents are better than others, but they have to have some narcissism in them to do that. And you could probably say that for some other occupations, maybe not as prestigious as president, but some just require some narcissism, fill in the blank, whatever slang term you want to use.
Would you think like we're confusing the word again, narcissism? It's probably like self-belief at that point.
Yeah. So I should say so. I'm guilty of using the terms loosely, but I'm always thinking them on a continuum. So I'm thinking like this person has some other traits, maybe not meeting diagnostic criteria, but having some other traits there. So I would say anyone that runs for president of the United States would have to have some of it in them. Maybe not meeting diagnostic criteria, but probably likely. But at least some of it. Because someone without any narcissism would be like, oh, I would not do a good job at that.
Yeah, and we're not living in a world where it's not a charity. It's nothing that you do today is like, you can be all, like you can gloat. There's very few people, like they're probably like in a monastery. They're like, I'm purely doing this out of the good of the world. If you're going and saying like, I'm putting money in charity, it's not 90% of your income. It's part of your income that you could put.
Yes, yeah.
So it's not any of that. So another thought, what do you think is like a healthy ego? What does it look like?
Well, what I think is having a realistic view of yourself. So if I can unpack that a little bit. So the psychologists, when we think of someone with narcissistic personality disorder, we actually think of someone who believes that they don't measure up, that they don't have what it takes, that that they compare unfavorably to others. Now, what happens then in their strategy to compensate for those beliefs is to create a world that gives them feedback that they're awesome. So, and there's many ways that you can do that. One can do that with a trophy wife. One can do that with being associated with the best universities or institutions. One can do that by wearing the best clothes, so on and so forth. But as long as they create a world that gives them feedback that they're awesome, then those feelings of inferiority are like quarantined, like deep and far away.
Right.
Narcissism is like desperately wanting to think well of yourself. But having a healthy ego is the confidence and thinking well of yourself for good objective reasons.
Would it be like saying that I'm at this point in my life, I could do better, but here's where I am, and I'm okay with that? Versus a narcissist would be like, I'm definitely at a point where the world thinks I'm at a really like a low point, and I can't have the world know that. I have to project the feeling that I'm the man, I'm the woman, I'm just like everything. Nobody needs to know the inner insufficiencies of mine.
Yeah. And now this is a judgment that the psychologist is making because, we assume if someone was confident in their abilities, they wouldn't need to have a trophy wife or job or wear the best clothes. They could go out and just be normal without anyone knowing. Now, this is pretty counterintuitive because people usually think of narcissistic people as only seeing one side of that pendulum of being over the top and really grandiose. This is actually one of the most effective ways to work with people with narcissistic personality disorder. Very few people will come to my practice and say, hey, Ian, I'm narcissistic, can you help me out? But some find their way to my practice. And when I talk with them, I don't really talk about the narcissism directly until they bring it up. And then eventually they'll bring it up in the form of how self-critical they are themselves or how they're down on themselves. And then once they open up that door, then I could ask them about it and they'll talk more about it. And in my experience, they'll talk freely about how they feel inadequate and whatnot. And then, we'll get to talk about what they do about that, how they deal with that, and then they'll talk about the other side, the grandiosity of it. But once we're able to talk openly about it, that's when we're able to work on it and challenge some of those beliefs of inferiority they have. Once those are challenged, then they don't need to have the grandiosity anymore.
It's that wall that needs to be broken.
Yeah. And it can take a long time because it's not one of those things that you want to bring up right away and say like, hey, buddy, I think you're acting a little narcissistic. You're not as...
It's going to put them on the defense, right?
Yeah. And as you know, people are much more likely to believe the things that they say rather than the things that someone else says. So if you get someone to talk about that, it's just much more powerful than when it comes from your mouth. Just getting them to do that, takes some that's the training.
Yeah, it's an interesting world out there.
Yeah.
All right, let's come to the topic of dating. The whole love concept that's going around the world and how you have anxious and avoidant people. What's the saying? They say that anxious and avoidance get together the most?
Well, I don't know of any data on this. What I have read, though, is that the two personality styles that get along, best on the surface are the dependent personality style and the narcissistic personality style. Let me explain. So
you're saying that the two of those personalities get together?
Yeah, they get together because
Okay.
So the person with dependent personality style, they believe that the world is a dangerous place and that they're ill-equipped to deal with it on their own. And their strategy is to find someone strong and basically hold on for dear life. And their strategy is, I'm going to be so nice, so doting, so caring that this person would be a fool to leave me.
Right.
And as long as that person is around, they feel safe. They feel because they're dependent upon them. But now think about when you have a dependent person and a narcissistic person. And again, I'm talking continuum.
Right.
Well, on the surface, the narcissistic person is getting their needs met because they've got someone that's cooking for them, cleaning after them, and talking about how awesome they are, doting them all the time. And the dependent person's needs on the surface are met too, because they've got this larger than life figure, even if that person is a blowfish, even if there's some hollowness to it, who's taking care of them, who's seemingly competent. So on the surface, they can gravitate towards each other. Whether it works well in the long term, that's much, much more complicated. As far as the avoidant personality styles, I think they would get along well together, but they might have a hard time finding each other,
Right.
because they're both at home on a Friday night, playing video games or watching movies, or with their girlfriends or boyfriends.
I was reading like this, again, another statistic. It was like 60% of the people on this earth are secure, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Like you would think that a lot of the noise that you hear is like everyone's like insecure. Like I thought it was like 5% of the world would be secure, but 60% of the world is secure. And it also said that this whole concept of anxious and avoidance getting together isn't something that's true. It's like you said, the avoidance hanging out together.
Yeah.
That's more likely. 88% of the relationships are people with the similar characteristics.
Yeah. There was a recent study that came out that showed or suggested that the relationships that work are the people that have similar psychopathology.
Right.
Which I thought was super interesting, because you hear about anecdotally people with autism spectrum disorder, they'll say like, oh, this person is on the same wavelength as me if they also have autism spectrum disorder. But I think, and again, it's tough when you talk anecdotally, but I think it could make a lot of sense. I've got a little, more than a little, obsessive compulsive personality style in me, and I would want someone that's got a bit of that style as well too. They show up on time. I don't have to worry about them not crossing their T's or dotting their I's. So it work out pretty well, I think.
Sometimes I think the whole way the relationship is described is, imagine a dog chasing its own tail.
Yes,
That's what it looks like when they say like an anxious and an avoidant got together.
Yeah.
But it's chaos. Like,
Yeah.
Do you think that we're confusing chemistry with chaos?
Well, it's really, really difficult. You're talking about romantic relationships.
Yeah.
Well, love is it's so complicated, because the way that I think about it is that there's two types of love. There's like the passionate love, like the can't wait to rip your clothes off love, and then there's the companionate love, which is like the love that you have for your friends and the enduring bond of marriage. And what happens is that I think that the two are independent. So if you fall in passionate love with someone, you may not fall in companionate love with that person. And I think that's why a lot of relationships...
What's the difference between that?
So the passionate love is the rip your clothes off,
right.
Crazy, think about the person all the time. And then the companionate love is the enduring bond of marriage. It's the love you have for your friends.
Okay.
My girlfriend now, which is hopefully be my girlfriend forever, when I met her, it was like finding out that Santa Claus was real. Like it was, because you spend the first part of your life like watching movies and listening to these pop songs, and you're like, oh, that's what love is like. And then you spend the next part of your life realizing that it's not like the movies. And then you meet someone, and you're like, oh my goodness, it is like the movies.
Right.
And every stupid, corny love song all of a sudden makes perfect sense.
Yeah, you're paying attention to the lyrics now.
Yeah, it's like, before you came into my life, I missed you so bad. You're like, what does that mean? But then when you love someone, you're like, I know exactly what that means. You're thinking about, oh my goodness, in comparison to now, my life before was awful.
Yeah.
So that passionate love doesn't always translate to the companion love. What happens, I think, is that we see someone, and it's like we draw a caricature.
Right.
And then we get to know them, and that caricature then becomes like a hyper-realistic drawing. And if we're lucky, we fall in love with that hyper-realistic drawing as well. But that doesn't always... It's like flipping a coin and hitting heads twice. I think that's two independent actions.
Well, firstly, I think your girlfriend's going to be really happy that you said all of that.
Well, I hope so.
So, I mean, another question, like they talk about this honeymoon phase, which I believe is the passionate part of it.
Yes.
And a
yes.
lot of people go through it, but it's the second part that most of them don't reach. And would you say like there's like a time frame to this? Like we're going a little off topic, but it's like a question that I had.
Yeah, around maybe like 5 or 6 years.
Is the passionate part of it?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe coincidentally, just enough time to have kids and meet the person, have kids with them. Evolutionarily, it might serve that function. But the real take home is that when you're looking for a long-term partner, what you really want is a friend.
Right.
Like that's the enduring bond that's going to keep you two together. And there's also,
How do you test that out? Like if they're just a good friend.
if they're just a good friend, I mean, I don't know. But what I think is that you'll see them similarly to how you see your other friends. Like, so my friends now, my girlfriend included, I feel like I'm in their debt just for them existing. Like if they needed me to pick them up at like LaGuardia
Right.
at like 2 a.m., like I would do that without any hesitance or
Right.
wanting anything in return. Maybe if they kept asking me for like a month straight, then I'd be like, wait a minute. But until
I'm
it
not
gets,
Uber.
yeah, like my friends are on an extremely long leash.
Right.
Like they could screw up for a long time before I question things, as opposed to a stranger. If I go to Burger King, like I give them exactly $4.50 and they give me exactly one quarter pounder or whatever you get from Burger King. But with my friends, it's like, okay, well, pay me back later. It's elastic with them. So that's how I think about my friends and my girlfriend, and I think that's what we should ultimately look for. But it can get we can get fooled by the passionate part of it too, and it's not, it's always something stupid like a dimple, or like a freckle, like that defies all logic and reason, that we fall in love with, and unfortunately, dimples and freckles do not make a marriage successful.
That's a different way to think about it. I like that. So we've discussed a bunch of personality types. Is there a way to change yourself fundamentally?
All right, so this might be a little bit controversial for me to say, but psychologists typically think about personality as resistant to change. That being said, there are changes that happen over the course of a lifetime. People become more conservative as they get older. People get less narcissistic as they get older.
Is that the case? I thought it was the opposite.
No, Jean Twenge, I believe
Uh-huh.
it's her that has some of these data. I can fact check. However, there's some things that don't change, but we learn how to adapt or live with them. I think maybe someone with ADHD would be similar, right? Like the ADHD might remain, but they'll put themselves in situations where it's not as much of a problem,
Right.
or they'll create systems to account for it so that it doesn't get in their way anymore. It's similar with personality. Like I said, I'm on the obsessive compulsive personality spectrum. I probably do meet criteria, but that works out well in academia. Academia is, I show up on time to everything. The goals and the expectations for me are extremely clear and extremely black and white. So I really like that. It's really easy for me to operate in that sort of realm. I wouldn't be so good as a jazz musician if they were like, okay, we're going to play some jazz number. We'll figure it out. I would be like, oh, okay, well, can I plan this? I found early on in my career that the emergency room was not the place for me. I'm a man with a plan. I need to have a plan here.
Yeah, uncertainty a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, I had like a therapist on my podcast. Her name is Julia, and we were discussing about all things related to therapy. And it was one of those things where what you said right now, where you learn how to process it, where like if you're an anxious or in an anxious attachment and an
Yeah.
avoidant attachment style,
Yeah.
you kind of self-identify that this is the moment I'm having this, and you can step back and decide to take a different course of action.
Yeah.
That's what she explained to me. And fundamentally, I kind of get it. You can change, but yeah, the part where you can just take a pause and
Yeah. It would be very difficult for, for someone like me, if someone said, hey, Ian, you're working in an emergency room right now. Like, my personality is one where I would be swimming upstream no matter how hard I tried to acclimate to that. It would be tough.
right. Well, this has been interesting, Ian. I do want to ask you, who's your favorite tennis player?
Well, so there's only one answer in my mind.
And you gotta tell me why.
Okay, so it is Roger Federer.
Okay.
There's a couple reasons. First, I think whoever invented tennis, I don't know who that person was, would be so proud to see Roger Federer play his or her game.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I think that Federer is the greatest of all time, he holds some records, but not the most important ones. I mean, same thing with Michael Jordan. He holds some records, maybe not the most important ones. But tennis has changed throughout time. If I was to pick one tennis player to play to save my life, and I couldn't choose his opponent, I couldn't choose the surface, I couldn't choose the racket strings or technology, and I couldn't choose the era, meaning like baseline, serve, and volley, I would choose Roger Federer. So someone like Novak Djokovic would probably be second on that list because he could do almost everything. And then Carlos Alcaraz would be up there, but he's still young with a lot to be seen. But I think Federer would succeed with a wooden racket. He would succeed in serve and volley area. He would succeed at the baseline era. He would succeed on hard courts. He would succeed on slow courts. I think he is just great. And also, it doesn't hurt that he looks great in a suit. And that, that oil painting of a backhand is just a sight to see.
Yeah, I was right. You are passionate about tennis.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. But play every day. I love the sport.
That's good. So, Ian, as part of this podcast, when we're closing, it's a tradition that whatever you've spoken about, you leave like an advice to the audience. So what would your advice be?
Well, in light of what we'd say, I would say the best advice I have would be to put yourself in situations where honesty is the best policy, and then just be yourself. And what I mean by that is, let's say that I'm applying for a job at an emergency room. Then I had to say like, oh yeah, I love working on my feet, and I love surprises at all times. That is not a situation where honesty is the best policy for me. I think honesty is the best policy most often, but in this situation. But if we put ourselves in situations where the truth is what's best, that's going to be best for us. So that's what I always try to do.
It's like an age-old thing. Honesty is the best policy.
Absolutely.
Wow, really nice. Do you have any questions for me?
No, not at the top of my head.
Thank you so much for doing this, Ian.
Yeah, I hope it was helpful. I hope that people enjoy watching and listening to it.
No, this is like one of those topics that I'm interested in. Like, I really love psychology, and I did take a class in my undergrad, and it was probably refreshing because I was like studying for I was an engineer, so we had like one subject we were allowed to take completely off topic.
Yes.
And I learned about so many things, and it's like I watch a lot of podcasts which have like psychologists come and talk about different kinds of personalities.
Yeah.
The general sense is to get myself, like, to know myself better. And also just like it serves as some sort of motivation.
Mm-hmm.
So this was amazing. I learned a lot from you. I didn't even know the word histrionic. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
So that meant a lot. Thank you so much for doing this, Ian.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.